County Office of Education Board of Trustees monthly meeting. And if we could establish the forum, anything?
Trustee Acosta? Trustee Estrada?
Here.
Trustee Nichols?
Here.
Trustee Sanchez?
Here.
Trustee Van Allen?
Here.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
President Roth?
Here.
And President Roth, Trustee Acosta did notify us that he's running late, but will be here shortly.
It does not look like we have anyone absent or in need of coming through. Board members are able, if they're ill or whatever, on Zoom. Great to all of you here. We now will go into closed session, and then we will come back. That's it. Okay, we will go into closed session, and then we will come back and open up the meeting, pledge allegiance, etc. Do we want to retire or ask?
Yes, so we will be, the board will be transitioning into the Bay Conference Room next door and for a closed session.
Yes, Dr. Sabal will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please stand if you are able to. Face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
A motion,
I'll second.
second, but. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. On to item 7, our closed session. I am happy to announce that we have a motion to approve the lease purchase of a property in Watsonville, located at 119 Beach Street. And details, you can find out, but we are in the process. And the vote was 6 approval, 1 abstention by Ed Acosta. So, okay. Now, we move into public comment. And this is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items outside the agenda. The board president will recognize any member of the audience not previously placed on the agenda who wishes to speak on a matter directly related to school business. Each speaker on any specific topic may speak up to 3 minutes unless otherwise limited or extended by the president. The president may allot time to those wishing to speak, but no action will be taken on matters presented. If appropriate, the president or any member of the board may direct that a matter be referred to the superintendent's office for placement on a future agenda. Okay, now on to the consent agenda.
Excuse me.
We need to ask if there are people who
Oh.
want to make public.
All right. Has anyone approached us?
Yes, President Roth, Nancy Cohen on Zoom would like to make a public comment. Give me 1 moment. Nancy, can you hear us? Can you unmute?
Yeah, I think I just unmuted.
Perfect.
How is that? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, give us one moment while we start the timer.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. If you could just hold on just one moment, Nancy, we're in the moment, you're gonna have 3 minutes for your.
Gotcha.
We're having technical difficulties with our.
I understand.
Okay, you can begin now.
Okay. I came today to plead with you to change your district policy that prevents parents from holding their children from starting kindergarten until they are closer to the age of 6. California state law requires children to start school at age 6, and yet Santa Cruz County policies will put your child straight into 1st grade if you wait until that age. And this is developmentally inappropriate, especially for young boys whose motor cortex is developing faster than their prefrontal cortex. And this, they have more impulse control issues. Now, I love public school, and I understand that your enrollment is dropping, partly because of policies like these that are arbitrary and not, as far as I can tell, based on a child's best interest. Parents have many other options, and they're taking them. Any kindergarten teacher will tell you that it is to a child's benefit to wait until they are slightly older to start. I came before you in June with a letter that I sent to Superintendent Sabah, and I will continue to come until this policy is changed back to what it used to be only 5 years ago. I know that change happened. I don't understand why, but I have parents here at my preschool. I've been doing this for 40 years. They beg me every year for the last 4 years to ask you to change this. So parents have the choice. Their child may barely be 5 when it's September and they don't want to send their child to kindergarten. And schools here are telling them that that is not a choice. And I think that's wrong. It's developmentally wrong. That's what I'd like to say. And I love school.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval? Second?
I'll second.
Motion by Bruce Van Allen, seconded by Alexandra Nichols. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Has there been any official correspondence that has been received that is not included within?
No additional correspondence, President Roth.
Thank you, Berenice. New business, okay. Today, we will be filling a student trustee vacancy on the Santa Cruz County Board of Education. This will be our 2nd year to have a student on our board. And we will review the process under which the interviews will be conducted. So do you want to give a?
Yes, if I could give just a description of what we're going to be, the process that we're going to be following. So this is the same process that we utilize for the selection of the adult appointees in the past. What we have asked is for the students. One student is going to be sitting in the hot seat, if you would, here in the front, and answering minimum of 3 questions and up to 5, depending on if time allows for all the questions to be asked, or if we run out of time, just the first 3 would definitely be asked. The other students are going to be accompanying Andres Ortiz, our student engagement and leadership coordinator, to another room, so they're not able to hear the answers of the other students. And then once the first student completes the interview, the student will join the other students in the room, and the second student would come in and join. After that, after all the interviews are completed, the board members will have a discussion and then vote on who they want to select to be the student trustee representative. And this is, you're applying to participate as what we call student at large, meaning a student from any one of the schools in Santa Cruz County. You represent those students here on the board. And so we are extremely grateful that you are here. We are extremely grateful for your patience, for sitting here waiting while the board was conducting the closed session business. And so the first student who's going to be, oh, you have.
Yes, Superintendent Sabal, I just want to explain to the trustees what I have in front of them. They all have green folders with various worksheets that were provided in the board packet to take notes on as you wish. There's a copy of the student trustee questions, as well as copies of all of the students' Google form responses when they originally applied. So all that information is there. I also want to share that we do have one student that is unfortunately won't be interviewing today. They won't be able to make it, and they share their apologies, and that is Julia Peavers. So we will only be doing 5 student interviews today.
So we are going to begin with Brandon Blake. We're following the order in alphabetical order that's on the list. And so we're going to ask the remaining students if you could please go with Andres Ortiz, who is at the back of the room, and you can join him. Thank you so much.
Hi, how are you?
Give us one moment.
Okay, hold on. I think what we'll do is just ask. I'll start first question. And just go ahead. So we all, yeah, opportunity.
What was the idea about doing 3 or 5? If you wanted to do
I
the
don't-
last 2, would we come around again?
So we have a limit of 10 minutes for each interview. And so depending on the time that students, we want to make sure that 3 questions are asked. If there's sufficient time for the 4th and 5th interview question, then you're able to do that. However, if students use up their 10 minutes with for the first 3 questions, then there wouldn't be enough time to answer the 4th and 5th.
Are we going to use the timer? The extra level of the student,
So that the student can,
or that we know. But to continue asking.
we're happy to do that. No, it's 8:00. Right, once we get started, same, just
I am ready. Okay, Brandon. Please tell us why you are interested in serving as a student trustee on the County Board of Education, and briefly describe your background and experience in education and student advocacy. Well,
What originally interested me in applying for this position on the board was I actually enrolled in your Student Trustee Academy last summer. Because I had been becoming more interested in politics, especially revolving around education. And I had received the email from my school, and I decided I thought it would be a good idea. Before that, I had been invited to a program at the University of Maryland for my freshman summer. And over there, I was enrolled in a program involving national security and certain topics involving geopolitics, where I discussed politics and certain issues with many people throughout high school, from freshmen to seniors and a very large group of people. As I previously mentioned, I enrolled in the Student Trustee Academy and presented here at the board previously. I also have been participating in many dual enrollment opportunities at Cabrillo College and other community colleges, and have been using that opportunity to graduate a year early. and in addition to that, I am in the process of starting many clubs and have previously helped out on a robotics club where I mainly worked with outreach and collecting funds for my team.
Thank you. Next follow-up question, please provide an example of a specific initiative or project you would like to work on as a student trustee and why it is important to you.
One of the initiatives that I'd like to implement here in the county is a polling system for students of schools within the county, probably middle school to high school, where they can answer surveys regarding certain topics that the board may be considering, or could even, they could even communicate their approval of certain board members or the student trustee themselves. And the goal of this would be to improve political efficacy, or the idea that a person's voice matters within democracy and government, as well as also providing a voice to many people like me who didn't really know about these opportunities to speak about their opinion.
Hi, Brandon, thank you for coming and thank you for applying. This third question, how do you envision advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion in our county's education system? And what steps would you take to ensure all students have equal access to opportunities and resources?
Well, like I mentioned, the polling system, which is one of the initiatives I intend to advocate for. As well, I have many friends from across the county, partially from the robotics role I had, as well as the program I was initiated in freshman year. So I know many people from across the country, from across the state, and within the county, and I would use their many perspectives and backgrounds. In addition to this, I do also have another initiative that I'd like to bring to the county as a sort of internet or hotspot plan. When power goes out, many students just can't do their homework or participate in things, or would be able to participate in things like the polling system. And especially this would prioritize mainly students and families that are eligible for financial aid, because when power goes out, if they don't have the funding for a generator, and if power is not restored timely, then they could suffer many maladies and things like that as a result.
Brandon, we'll move on to the optional questions. How would you gather input and feedback from your fellow students to ensure that their voices are represented on our board? Well, I do acknowledge you mentioned the polling area, but say more.
In addition to the polling system I mentioned before, I believe that an advisory committee of students from throughout the county, from various middle schools, high schools, and districts, could perhaps form an advisory committee for the student trustee at the county. The goal of this being that in the event that the polling system is inefficient or it takes a long time, the committee could provide very quick and hopefully accurate advice to the student trustee to bring to the county board and essentially aid in their decision.
All right, Brandon. Right, we're gonna move on to the next question. Can you share an example of a challenging situation you faced in a leadership role and how you handled it?
One of the challenges that I faced on my robotics team within my role for raising funds and that sort, when I was talking to many businesses, I would actually go out in person, talk to their managers, and I did provide emails at sometimes. But one of the major issues I faced was getting the tax codes for tax write-offs and papers, because our club unfortunately didn't have that processed yet. So I talked to the leader of head of my team, and even the club president and the advisor about this. And I did express doubt that we'd be able to gather funding through this manner, and I still did pursue this through small businesses and various other things, but unfortunately, we weren't able to raise funds this way. So I suggested instead that we utilize the local booster club at our school and ask them for funding, because they do provide funding for local clubs and initiatives, and I thought that might be a better idea.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and if you would exit and send in the next person.
Thank you so much. No.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that. No, yeah.
Safety number 0 on the second page.
So Edward, you'd start with question one, correct?
Yes.
Yes. You must.
Do this and that. Oh, there's another one.
Welcome, Maximiliano. And are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're each gonna take a question. Everyone's asking. So please tell us why you are interested in serving as a student trustee in the County Board of Education, and briefly describe your background and experience in education and student advocacy.
All right, well, I'm interested in becoming a student trustee because I think it's important for student voices to be heard. I've personally seen injustice happening at the PVUSD school board, and it's inspired me to be more active and advocate for students. You know, I want to be more knowledgeable with how the board works. Students should be involved, right? Because the board's decisions affect students. And, you know, when something that important, you know, sorry, I'm gonna take a moment to gather my thoughts.
Your time.
Yeah, the board's decisions affect students, which means that, you know, students' voices are more important, right? Because they're the ones that are being affected. You know, I'm a sophomore at PV, and I know that a lot of students, you know, and the PVUSD, they go to the PVUSD school board and they say, hey, we need a theater, we need a pool, you know. And I think that's very, you know, very cool that they're able to go and advocate for themselves. And I think when you're able to do that, when you're able to have a discussion with the students, you know, people are able to get what they need. And that means that people are happy and people want to go to the schools, they attend more. You know, I heard that Pajaro Valley High School had the highest attendance, you know, at the beginning of the week, right? And I thought that was very shocking, you know, when people want to go to school, when they feel happy, when they feel heard, they go, you know, and then schools get the funding that they need to keep going. And also, people of color's voices, usually aren't represented. California is 80% people of color, and I think that, especially students that are people of color should be more represented, in these types of decisions in these boards.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
done.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I have no question right.
Okay, I'll ask the question. Ready? Please provide an example of a specific initiative or project you would like to work on as a student trustee and why that is important to you.
So I think I mentioned it a little, but I want to focus on just increasing student voice and participation, as well as informing voters about, what's going on in the county, right? Students should be able to talk to their parents, they should feel informed so that they can advocate for themselves, and that way they can tell the leadership what their needs are. And if their needs aren't met, they can come here and say, hey, we need this, we need that. And, they can keep holding the board accountable until things get done. Again, it just goes back to the attendance thing so that students are able to go to school and feel happy, right? So we don't have absences. And, if students are incentivized to participate, if students come, again, it's just a positive feedback loop, right? Students come, they're able to advocate for themselves, and then their school improves. And so then they keep coming, they keep saying, hey, this is what we need. And then the schools keep improving and then more people come. Instead of moving to other places where, they already have the things that they want. They can just stay here and, talk to the leadership that they're trusting it has their best interest. I'm done with that question as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you talked a lot about advocacy, and I want you to think of specific examples for this third question that says, how do you envision advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion in our county's educational system? And what steps would you take to ensure all students have equal access to opportunity resources?
Well, I will try to join groups and encourage other students to join, activist groups that help students get to school board meetings in the first place. There's a group at my school called the Student Action Council, and it's this group that aims to, mobilize students and get them involved, one, with their school and with their community. They're in their school board, there's this thing called Measure M that would give our school the funds that it needs to finish itself, because we still don't have a theater or a pool. And so the goal of the group for right now is to gather students up, right? Inform students and the parents that that's happening, that Measure M is happening, so that they can vote and they can advocate for this school. And I personally am starting a group at my school that will also help get people involved who don't know anything, anything about politics, anything about what even a school board is, right? And I'm gonna get them involved so they feel like they have options, so that they don't feel trapped.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This next question, How would you gather input or feedback from your fellow students to ensure their voices are represented on the board?
Yeah, so this one, I would just simply create a survey and I would just post it online, you know. A lot of people at my school are on Instagram, Snapchat, so I would just, you know, post it on my social media, you know, tell people to follow it. You know, usually people, you know, like I see like a lot of school boards or teachers, they use email. But I know a lot of my friends who don't regularly check their email. So I know that sometimes emails are being sent and it just flies over students' heads and then they miss stuff. And I don't want that to happen. So I'll reach students where they're at.
Thank you.
Can you share an example of a challenging situation that you faced in a leadership role and how you handled it?
Well, everyone has them and has been a part of them. Group project. I had a group project in my class, you know, where I assumed the role of a leader, and it was hard for my group to get started because they were like completely lost. They had no idea what to do. So what I did is I tried to structure the group. I told them, these are the things that we need to get done, and here's how we could do them. And then I opened the floor for discussion. I said, so what are some ideas, right? What are some ways that we could do these things? This is how we could do them. So how exactly do you guys want to go about them? And then I would hear the input from the students, and then that's how we would go about it. And we were able to pretty successfully finish the group project. And we finished it in a way where everyone was happy with the end result. And I'm very proud of it.
Thank you. We truly appreciate your time and especially your interest in being part of this board. So you could take a seat in the lobby and we will meet to our next.
Thank you, Maximiliano.
And so.
Ed's one, yeah.
Yeah,
Ed's our-
option one, yes.
I'm just trying to, this will be Sylvie Kaiser.
You should know which ones she's got next, so she'll have three.
So do you want separate from the code?
I would like to say, maybe we should.
Maybe one is
do
the
one.
Sandy?
Yeah, it's not first one.
So do you want to start over with skill one?
No, I mean, that we ask all 5 of the questions rather than watch the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, so we're just going into work.
Started it.
Okay, I'm worried about what we're hearing. Want balance. We'll see.
Welcome, Sylvie. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Good evening, Sylvie. Right. So please tell us why you're interested in serving as a student trustee on the County Board of Education, and briefly describe your background and experience in education as a student advisor.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons why I wanted to become or apply for the student trustee is to advocate for student voices that tend to go unnoticed, especially in decision making, even when, or maybe because it directly affects students. I've noticed there's a bigger lack of representation for like direct student input, and I'd like to change that. And I'm also interested in politics and starting on a law track after school. or after high school. So this would be like a great place to practice those skills in a safe learning environment. For kindergarten through 8th grade, I attended Santa Cruz Montessori, which is a private school here. And it was a really great experience for me. The teachers allowed for spaces to be for growth and also for respect, which in turn created like this mutual respect between students and staff. And it was honed to individual learning pace, as well as what your strengths were. And at an early age, we were given leadership opportunities. In 4th through 6th grade, everyone was supposed to teach their own lesson to the class or multiple lessons. I went on financial aid though, so I was really lucky to get to have that opportunity. And for 1 year of kindergarten, I went to Main Street Elementary, which was a public school, and it was kind of obvious the difference in student support, like for the teachers themselves to support the students and for students as well. And I think that's really just because of the lack of funding and support that the teachers were getting. But right now I'm at Aptos High School. I'm in my junior year, and this is also a public school. And it feels like there's really a big disconnect between students and staff. I think there's just not enough spaces given to connect with them. But I've had great teachers with my advanced and AP classes. I found some really great administrators who are willing to take the time to teach each student, and it sort of echoes Montessori values in a way. But yeah, that is, for the most part, my background with education. And for student advocacy, I've worked actually with the Summer School Board Academy of Trustees, where I actually sat into the same board back, that was in July, I believe. And that was just to directly voice concerns straight to the board for just placing the seat there. I've worked with the principal, Dr. Hank Sloan at Aptos, to spread out surveys with the county office group Youth for Environmental Action. I've been on the leadership team this is my 3rd year now. And at Aptos High School, I was a representative on our student senate board. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is, please provide an example of a specific initiative or project you would like to work on as a student trustee and why it is important to you.
A big one that I'd like to tackle, or at least start, is an implementation of improved waste management systems at high schools and schools in the district, or in the county, sorry, including improved recycling and compost systems. I think that's just such a really crucial way to reduce the carbon footprint that schools have in our county. And especially at my school, I noticed there's a lot of food waste with the required fruit. A lot of students tend to not eat those and they end up just rotting. If there was a system for compost, which could create soil and in turn improve school soil, I think that would be really beneficial for the community as a whole. And waste management is something that my family really instilled in me, especially with my dad. He was always showing us like what goes where and sorting and for compost and food waste. And it's just, sustainability is something that I hold very close to my heart. It's really important to me and it is what our future relies on. And I think with schools, these new waste systems could foster a sense of connect to schools. And when students are empowered with the opportunity for sustainable practices, there's that connection to continue forward with more sustainable actions in individuals and also as school communities as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, Sylvie. The next question is, how do you envision advocating equity, diversity, and inclusion in our county's education system? And what steps would you take to ensure all students have equal access to opportunity and resources?
Yeah, so to start, I would be able to bring a voice to students who identify differently with their gender expression. I myself am gender fluid, and I have a lot of friends who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm able to make sure their voices are heard in decisions towards schools. And I'd also like to make sure that I voice concerns for every student, that I'm able to speak on their behalf with their direct input, especially ones who have been marginally excluded from decision-making, like I mentioned earlier. And I would, be able to directly gain student insight towards issues, since I am in the schools with them. I can talk to them directly, and they might be more willing to voice their concerns with someone their own age who's showing interest versus an authority figure. And for getting the equal access to opportunities, I would need support from the district, because I don't think it's feasible to do it at an individual level. But to be most successful, I think the start would be in providing equal promotion through schools for opportunities such as this, through announcements, through their social media, or through just school announcements in general, like over the loudspeakers, which students could all hear during the day. And I think that for events, there would need to be equal access to transportation. For example, there could be buses that take them to, like, Youth for Environmental Action has a summit every year, and each school is provided a bus to take students. And so that's a great footing to just set everyone off at an equal pace, because the school bus takes them. But events outside of school, there's often a lack of transportation that everyone has an access to. And I think that with the district support, that could be changed. Like, buses could go directly to schools, like the city bus, and not just school buses, because most events take place after school hours, and there's often not ways for students to get to these events that are happening in the community. And I would definitely want to send out surveys to students across counties, or not counties, across the schools in the different districts, to get their direct input and feedback, and take that data to these board meetings to get a wider sampling of how students feel regarding issues and other happenings in education. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, question number 4. You mentioned a survey, so I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that, or any other ideas that you have on how you would gather input and feedback from your fellow students to ensure their voices are represented on.
Yeah, so with the survey idea, I utilized this before with getting sustainability surveys out. Often, if a survey is sent out to students, if there's a tangible reward, for example, at Aptos, they use 5-star points, and students can purchase Aptos gear or candy or snacks. The more students feel a motivation to respond to things when there's something that makes sense for them to respond. And I would want to send out a monthly survey to the students across the schools, which could be sent out during homerooms. I know Aptos has a tutorial, and I know SoCal has different block days. So teachers could put it out with a reward for whatever point system is at the school, because then it widens the sampling pool of who is responding, not just students who are interested in activism, but students who just would like something, a reward. I mean, I know I fill out more surveys when there's something attached to them. There's more motivation. And especially, I think social media is a great platform for utilizing to get student voices. For example, with polls over Instagram or Snapchat, a lot of students have access to social media, and a lot of schools have social media pages. So one way that I think would be most effective to garner student views would be to send out polls over social media, where students can be given common spaces to voice their own issues. And then through these comment sections or these polls, that data can be used in meetings like these to explain a broader student view of our education system. Thank you.
All right, Sylvie, so we're not gonna have time to ask the 5th question, but thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Sylvie. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Ruben.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again, Dr.
See you
Simone.
too.
It's nice to meet all of you.
Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for applying.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna start with our first question here.
Okay.
So please tell us why you're interested in serving as a student trustee with the County Board of Education, and briefly describe your background and experience in education and student advocacy.
I'll start by just introducing myself. I'm Ruben Marcus. I'm a senior at Soto High School. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. So I really want this position because education is my passion. I really think knowledge is a great equalizer. I think it's the mission of both individuals and society to pursue education, pursue knowledge, and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to do so. I think I'd be well suited for this position. I'm a good listener. I really enjoy listening to other people, listening to ideas, working as a team to build consensus. I'm on my school's mock trial, Model UN, varsity band, and jazz band with leadership positions on all of those. I've also worked with the County Office of Education before on countywide initiatives like math festivals and world languages showcases with Kevin Drinkard and Andres Ortiz. And I think being a member of the board and a student trustee would be a natural next step towards contributing to education. And I'd be honored to be able to further contribute to the mission of the County Office of Education.
Thank you.
Second question, is please provide an example of a specific initiative or project that you would like to work on as a student trustee and why that is important to you.
So a specific initiative I'd really like to focus on, that's really important to me, is strengthening the Spanish language programs in our county. I think we have some really great programs, including dual immersion programs and AP classes. And I think I'd really like to see more bilingualism and more emphasis on promoting Spanish education for all levels of education. I'd really like to see more Spanish programs at the elementary school level and also middle schools, as well as opportunities for native speakers like myself to be able to connect to our language and our culture. In my case, I took Spanish for Spanish speakers in high school, and it would have been really awesome to have similar opportunities in elementary and middle school as well. Being able to connect with my heritage, connect with my culture, and also connect with others with similar experiences. Overall, I think strengthening these programs would be a very valuable initiative.
Okay, we'll move on to the third question. How do you envision advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion in our county's education system? And what steps would you take to ensure all students have equal access to opportunity and resources?
I think equity, diversity, inclusion are all core aspects of our county and core values for promoting education for everyone throughout the county. In terms of diversity, I think there's diversity in the aspect of promoting representation for historically marginalized groups. I also think it's really important to emphasize individual diversity. There's so much diversity within individuals, individual perspectives, backgrounds, stories, goals, challenges, that I think it's really important to make sure everyone can be comfortable sharing these. I think we do that through inclusion. We want to create a space, we want to create a community where everyone can feel welcomed, can feel safe, can feel heard, can feel valued. To promote equity, I think countywide initiatives do a very good job of that. Like Youth-Led Leadership Alliance and Multilingual Youth Taking Action. We can really work towards promoting equity by strengthening these programs, making sure that everyone can have access to these programs, can have the means to participate. And I think overall, that's how we promote diversity, promote inclusion, and really strengthen and work towards equity throughout our county.
Yeah, thank you. So the next question is, how would you gather input and feedback from your fellow students to ensure their voices are represented on the board?
I view feedback as a sort of multi-level system. I think there's direct feedback where I can talk to peers. I'm a peer tutor at my through my school, so I interact with tons of people with unique educational backgrounds and educational goals. So I could talk to them, talk to friends, talk to teachers I know. I also have two younger siblings, one in 10th grade, one in 8th grade, so I could talk to them and their friends to receive feedback from the younger grades as well. The next level of input would be a more school-wide and district-wide level, where that would involve reaching out to schools, school staff, counselors, teachers, not only from my school, but other schools and other school districts as well. The final level would be the community level, which is, in my opinion, the most crucial for ensuring that everyone throughout the county has a voice that can be heard. This, in my opinion, would most effectively be done via digital means. I could create a website, create online forums, create surveys and send those out to ensure that everyone has a voice that can be heard and everyone's ideas can be brought up and shared to improve education throughout our county.
Thank you. And can you share an example of a challenging situation you've faced in a leadership role and how you've handled it?
My most significant leadership role would probably be in my school band. I'm a section leader. And I found that as a section leader and also just a member of my band, the team is what mattered most. And often I'll help other people with their music parts, helping other people learn their instruments, learn their music. And that's a very valuable commitment when sometimes it might take away from my own improvement to ensure that everyone can improve. So I found that the band works best as a team and that everyone needs to improve and everyone can work their best. And that's how we get to the most effective improvement for the whole team. I've also found that that really translates well into a ton of other aspects. Like in mock trial, we work as a team. I'm in bands outside of school, and I think it'd work really well in this too, where we work as a whole board and also just as a whole county, making sure all ideas are heard, all ideas are shared to find the most effective solutions to problems. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate your time in coming and speaking and your interest. Hey, you take it forward. Keep going.
Thanks for
Thank you so much. It would really be an honor to work alongside all of you.
Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Kevin. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Welcome. We're glad to have you here with us. And I would like to ask you to please tell us why you are interested in serving as a student trustee on the County Board of Education and briefly describe your background and experience in education and student advocacy.
Yeah, I'll be referring to my phone for like the notes.
Yeah, perfect. That's fine.
One of the reasons I am interested is so I can gain leadership experience, communication skills, and public speaking.
Just speak a little closer to
Like this. Some of the reasons I'm interested is due to I'll be able to gain leadership experience, communication skills, and public speech skills, alongside networking. And some experience I have in student advocacy is that in my school last year there wasn't a lot of like student engagement, so I presented to the teachers and staff at my school on how to like get more student engagement in the classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Evening. Thanks for being here, Kevin. So please provide us an example of a specific initiative or a project you would like to work on as a student trustee and why it is important to you.
One of them that's important to me is college and career readiness. Due to the fact that last year my brother, who's like around this time, due to college and due to college, he was a little bit lost due to the school not having like a lot of. It wasn't very specific on where to go for the college and career center on and to get help. Like that one is like a big important one to me. Another one will be like as mentioned before, student engagement with the school.
Thank you.
The third question is, how do you envision advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion in our county's education system? And what steps would you take to ensure that all students have equal access to opportunities and resources?
One of them, I believe, again, in fact, due to my school is target funding. My school, Pajaro Valley, is very undeveloped compared to the other schools. I'll say maybe in the county, not just the district, due to it lacking a place for theater arts to perform, like an auditorium, and having to use a one in Watsonville High, alongside a pool for the physical education department. And yeah.
Okay, yep, okay. How would you gather input and feedback from your fellow students and to ensure their voices are represented on the board?
The one that instantly comes to mind is surveys and polls during class time, due to like that will maximize the student feedback that they receive instead of just like emailing it to them. Yeah.
Thank you. I guess I have a question. Can you share an example of a challenging situation you faced in a leadership role and how you handled it?
Yes. Going back to my answer for the first question on when I had to present to the teachers, I did it alongside a group of students. And one of them being that someone I as a person dislike, but I had to still work with them and set aside my personal grudge against them to so the staff could like get the message.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and
You're welcome.
we appreciate your taking the time to come. Keep up the activism.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, John. So generally, students will remain in the waiting room while you do the deliberation, and then take a decision.
We will make the decision not in front of them.
Correct, we're still in open session, so you'll be deliberating right now. And then make a decision as soon as we return here.
Okay, so where do we start? I'm going to take a moment here.
And if I could interrupt you just for a moment, Bruce, if you could put the microphone pointed at,
Sorry.
point your microphone just so that when you are speaking, there you go, thank you.
Do you want to perhaps number students' replies? And from 1 to 5 on each question? Huh? Anybody else have another idea?
Yeah, that's what I'm going through right now
Yeah,
in scoring.
me too. Just doing my adding here.
With 5 being the highest?
I did that, 5 being the highest, I already have my score.
And I just finished mine.
You ready?
One recommendation could be, when we do interviews, for example, is to using the point system without reporting on any numbers. Share who your highest 2 of the students, and to see if there is, sometimes that already brings a certain group of students to the surface. And continue the conversation again, being kind of talking to students' strengths about what strengths he saw in their view.
Would like to start?
Start with you.
Go down the line. You shouldn't have said it that way. I didn't understand. Sandra? No,
I could.
Edward has a lot to say and a lot to talk about. He's been diligently working on these questionnaires.
I was taking notes the entire time. I was barely able to look at the students, honestly. So I mean, first want to say to the board and anyone watching and folks here in the audience that this is my first time with a student trustee appointment. And this definitely is one of the most difficult ones because can't we just appoint them all? I loved hearing from all the students. And it definitely, I mean, from the beginning, I was like, how are we going to choose just one person? So I want to acknowledge that all these students are amazing and they gotta keep doing what they're doing. And we need their voices in as many places that they want to advocate for. So just want to start off with that because it was really amazing and a lot of top scores. But my top 2 were Sylvie and Ruben. I think I really liked what Sylvie mentioned about their time at Montessori and educational inequity that they saw. I liked their answer on improved waste management systems, a lot of thought in that, and also clearly they have a lot of passion about environmental sustainability, youth, what is the, that they founded, the Youth Environmental Action Club. So they have involvement here with the COE as well, and that was really, really nice to hear. I think all the students mentioned student surveys. I think that's a common point that I also just kind of want to point out, not just for student trustees, but just the fact that I think every student mentioned that. And so I definitely will keep that in mind when we're thinking about how to reach out to students and get their input on these items. Youth for Environmental Action, that's the name. So yeah, I really loved them, and honestly, they were tied with Ruben in my in everything. Ruben had the longest application, so put a lot of effort into that, and I want to acknowledge that, and really went into depth about all the work that they do. And honestly, my only thought about that was how they made time to make it here today. They have a very busy schedule. I really loved what Ruben said about education as a great equalizer. That really spoke to, I think, what a lot of us are here to do. The COE is for some of our most, marginalized students, folks who need more individualized support, and bringing the county together, and acknowledging all the inequity that we have within our county, and across our county. I thought that was really great. And also has been working with the COE on math initiatives and knew lots of folks here at the COE. I thought that was great. Also Ruben, I will say Ruben is in 12th grade, and then Sylvie is in 11th. That was kind of shaping my thinking about, this is Ruben's, last chance to be here on the COE board, whereas Sylvie does have another year. That's something that I thought about. But yeah, I also love Ruben's response about Spanish language programs. That speaks to a lot of work that we've done for multilingualism. A lot of initiatives, a lot of resolutions that we passed. So, and all the, going into what feedback is. I loved how Ruben broke it down to direct feedback, school-wide feedback, and bringing in the community. I think they went, above and beyond with that answer. So, yeah, those were my top two and my thoughts. I'd love to hear what other folks thought.
I'll go next. First, I also want to acknowledge all of the students that applied and showed up and went through the interview process. It can be very stressful and nerve-wracking. I did it only just a few months ago, and I think that they were a lot more cooler than I was. I am certain of it. So I want to appreciate all the time, all the support that they get from their teachers, the faculty, their parents. Thank you. These are some exceptional students, and we appreciate them. All of the students bring different strengths and perspectives and views, so that's what does make it really difficult to pinpoint just a couple of students that stood out. The two students that stuck out with me was also Sylvie, but also Brandon and Ruben. I would say Ruben, I'll go backwards just because he was the most recent. I really liked what he had to say about the equity question, because they didn't leave it just for ethnicity, but also gender and equality for everyone. So I really like that. Very detailed in their initiative planning and communications, very detail oriented. Sylvia, I also appreciated their unique initiative for waste management and implementing something throughout the county that was, I wouldn't have even thought of that, and it's a wonderful one. Let's see here. Brandon certainly has a very broad academic background, and that he could bring a lot to the role and understanding. And so I'll leave it at that, but just so impressed. Anybody else? Bruce.
I just love this because they're so impressive, and even though this is a hard decision, I really appreciate their interest and determination and patience with us. For me, I really had two that stood out the most, but when I added up my scores, much slightly different from what I expected. Very impressed with Sylvie. I felt they were in some ways the most practical, at the same time having good deep thoughts about education and where it's going, but the specific idea about the waste management program and some other things just demonstrated to me some real thought about what's an actual thing that happens that could be made better. I appreciated that. My score sheet, because Sylvie didn't get the fifth question, I didn't have as many things to give points to, and even without that fifth question, they still scored pretty high in my overall totals. Ruben, I felt, was very polished, very obviously done a lot of preparation, and very thoughtful person. And the sense I got of their values was very compatible with our board and to what I think our big goals are for education in the community. I was also impressed with Maximiliano, and a little hard to pin down exactly, but their answers were very on the ball, a little verbose, but it was good because they had things to say. And so, to my surprise, Maximiliano ended up being my highest score. I think if I were to have to only name two, it probably would have been Sylvie and Ruben, but that just shows that they're all pretty good, or quite good. So that's sort of where I'm open to other people's thoughts.
I'd like to go next. I do think this is one of the hardest things to do because, as was mentioned before, each student has a unique perspective that they can bring to the table, and is valid and is important and would be very beneficial to the board. So I have to choose one is very hard. It's very challenging just because, again, every single one of these students could do a good job. So with that in mind, so my approach was, so the way that I like to think about it is, there's two individuals that stood out to me, and one of them is, so I will say Ruben, just because I feel like he could run for Senate, and do a pretty good job. I think he has a really good work ethic, and I think he has the foundation and the basis there to just kind of build off of it and just do really well. And then the other student that stood out to me was Maximiliano. And when he started, he was definitely nervous, but I could tell that as we progressed, as we got towards the end, I just got sincerity. It was relatable. It was openness. I think that's what I felt, from him. And so the reason why I chose him is because I feel like he has the potential to grow the most, in this position. So that's kind of the way that I perceived it, right? Ruben, because he has that strong work ethic, because he can hit the ground running. Maximiliano, because I can see him as the student that to grow the most, from the beginning to the end of this year of the term. I guess you can call it a term. Those are my two students.
Well, I have to say, I agree, this is really difficult. And I agree, I know somebody mentioned, just bringing them all on, that'd be the best thing to do at this point, because they're all great, right? I really want to thank the students. They're amazing. They did a great job. That was a lot of work. It's difficult for them to go up there and speak to us. I'm sure they're very nervous. I would be. And the parents, I know the parents also have a big stake in it. So thank you. It's hard for me to make a decision on two people. I put it all in order, but I know I gotta be quick, but I would like to echo on these two students that I did choose, to echo what our fellow trustees have already said, so I don't take for the sake of time. My first would be Ruben. He presented himself very well, very articulate. I did read the packet. That's pretty big, a lot of information in there. Second would be Brandon. Brandon did a fabulous job at presenting. They both did a great job, but Ruben would be my first and Brandon would be my second. Thank you.
Sandra, do you wish to take any?
Well, I admire the group that put these questions together. I really admire the group. And, oh, thank you. So, because I didn't understand what I would have enjoyed being oriented to the questions we were asking and how we were filling it out. I didn't do a good job compared to him. He's got all the details and all the details that are down here. And, yeah, I wish they had name tags on them when they came. And, that would be good to recognize them. And, should I just explain some things that came out in my overall, okay, I think these students all have a lot of good and varied backgrounds, and I'm glad that they filled out their forms for us to understand. And there's so many pieces of paper here. I don't know where my comments are going to come out, but
Were there two students that stood out for you, Sandra?
I don't remember whose name was whose. I'm sorry, I don't remember that. I thought they were all pretty good to fill these out for us. And oh, here's something I noticed at the last minute, because I didn't hear it during the discussion. And the person was Kevin. Excuse me, am I hitting my microphone? Okay, the last question on the form was, what do you see as the most pressing issues facing the student population in this county? Here's an answer that I thought, this made me kind of warm up to Kevin, because what he really, he said, what I see as the most pressing issue in the student population in this county, it's ditching and skipping class. Did you hear him say that? Or did you just read it? You read it, yeah. And I didn't think he discussed it much, you know, I don't think he mentioned it. Okay. So, I think ditching and skipping classes is one of the most bad marks of a student who wants to succeed. Because if you're skipping classes and skipping out, you're gonna have some empty boxes here on the form, so.
Thank you. I hate making decisions about people. It's just me, as I see potential in every single one of them. I think I appreciate the drive to get here, prepare for this, and being this alert at this age and wanting to learn more, learn how to do it, how to be a public figure. My scores are almost tied all the way across, but I would say that I feel Brandon and Ruben are well on their way. That I'm really amazed at how solid they are in being able to present and a view of the future, how to communicate. I feel they would fit well. Max, on the other hand, I felt the same way about him, but I could see where he would perhaps grow more in this role. And that is my question, since we're an educational group here. I mean, they're all going to grow, but I can see some structure there for him. So that's me. And I don't think we can go wrong with any one of them. So it's just going to be a hard choice. And All I know is I got more and more nervous with each student because of the choice that we are going to have to make. And also I don't want them to be in any way defeated by this because life hands us many, many things as we go along. And I hope they keep up the ability to believe in themselves and pursue what they want. It's critical. So now where?
So, Berenice has been tallying up your top vote getters. And, I believe that, Ruben was mentioned by all the folks who, and, some of the other students, a little bit less. So if we're just tallying off the students that receive the most of the top votes, that would be that. Just to use, we'll have that information, or like, we can share the tally.
Yes, Bruce.
Just to add to my thoughts, and I'm not trying to shape anything in particular here, but I did notice with Maximiliano that really there was something like shyness or just, you know, not nearly as polished as, say, Ruben was, for example, or Sylvie. But it reminded me of our previous student trustee in the sense of this is somebody that's clearly going to push themselves, really going to expand and learn. And to have someone that maybe isn't that great at presenting themselves in public in a not easy situation, that may not be the most important thing about having a student trustee as much as that it's someone that will be committed and learn and engage and so on. So to me, and now I understand a little better, probably from hearing other people, why I ended up giving Maximiliano higher scores than some of the others. So I just want to introduce that back into our conversation. I will say I was very impressed with Sylvie, and if my scores would have, as I said, for her would have been the highest if she'd had a chance to, they'd had a chance to answer the last question. So they'll sort of holding out a little space for them. But I also, I think what Paris reflected to us, that we all mentioned Ruben. Ruben would be an outstanding person on a board, no question about that, in my view, although not to take away from the others.
And he is a 12th grader. I think there should be some weight to that.
I was gonna add to that, yeah, I think that's, I mean, to me, that was part of my decision. I went based also on the opportunity that may come up the following year. And, you know, he's an exiting student, which would be a great opportunity for him to be able to be part of this board. Where the other students will still have the opportunity to come next year. Yeah.
I knew this was gonna be a difficult decision, so, and I think we all wanted to, like, it'd be great if we could just bring them on in some capacity. So to kind of take away from maybe some of the things that, you know, a personal perspective is, at the beginning, I decided, okay, I'm gonna put a number system and it's gonna be basically on how they're answering our questions, whether, you know, it's thorough, it's got detail, or they didn't answer it really roundabout. So I would stick with my top two for those reasons.
So I think it might be a time for somebody wants to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with Ruben. Do I need to say his last name, Marcus?
No, thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion, second.
So, yeah.
Further comments before we take a vote?
I wanted to echo what one of the students mentioned about a student advisory committee. Since we are saying so many of these students, we would love to hear their voices. I think that's something that we should absolutely try to pursue, because when given the opportunity, a bunch of really passionate students will come out and want to make their voices heard. And we keep telling them, don't stop advocating, and maybe that's an opportunity to continue hearing their voices in another capacity, even if they're not on, as a student trustee. Just wanted to throw that out there.
So this is a resolution, so it would require a roll call.
Before I do roll call, can I clarify, was it trustee Williams that was the second?
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, now for the roll call vote, trustee Acosta,
Aye.
trustee Estrada,
Yes.
trustee Nichols,
Yes.
trustee Sanchez,
Yes.
trustee Van Allen,
Aye.
trustee Williams,
Yes.
president Roth.
Yes.
So Andres is going to, Mr. Ortiz is going to be bringing students back in. You said some wonderful words of appreciation for the students, and this would be your opportunity to share that with them in the room. Maybe first start with appreciation and then an announcement of.
And would you all like to be part of the appreciation?
Please, sure, please. Yes, we can, not taking too much time, we can do a +1 if someone says something. Or thinking, happy to.
I thought Abel was going up there with a bottle of wine. I'm not. That's not a bottle of wine.
Youngest guy on the board. Isn't he? Isn't he the youngest guy on the board? Yeah. Do you have your bottle of wine? Now I remember what they looked like. So they do have name tags on, but we can't read them from here.
No,
Yeah.
that was.
Welcome back.
Sure. So now I need to be very earlier. Thank you all for coming forward. In looking back in my history of being in public positions, you've taken the hardest step at a very young age of stepping forward into the community. And whatever transpires here, do not stop. You have a voice, you understand the value of the voice, and be active. Democracy depends on it. Our whole community does. So I think the others on the board, I'd like to make a statement too.
Good evening, everyone. I want to personally thank all of you, Brandon, Maximiano, Sylvie, Ruben, Kevin, thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for applying. Thank you for your interest. I just want to share how amazing and brave you all are. I was sitting in that seat just a few months ago, and it is nerve-wracking and it's scary and your heart's fluttering, and you all did an amazing job. And so kudos. Again, no matter what happens this evening, you all are going to do great things. Keep on the path that you're on, keep with your passion wherever that leads you. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Good job. And we look forward to seeing what you all do next.
I will echo again. All of you did a really great job up there. I have to say, it is nerve-wracking just to sit up there and have to be in front of us to, get to where you're going, right? So I just want to thank you. You guys did a fabulous job, and just keep it up. And, there's always opportunity in the future. We'll remember to take you, okay? Thank you.
I'll share. I wanted to once again thank you all for being brave enough to come here and, kind of be vulnerable with us about, your passions, what you think you're bringing to the table, and you all bring something different. And that's what made this decision so difficult, because we could see any single one of you on the board. We all said positive things about each and every single one of you throughout this discussion that we had, and all of the different perspectives that you all bring, all of your skills, all of your passions. So I just wanted to once again thank you all, and that I once again want to push you all to continue doing what you're doing. And yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm sure you guys are like so eager. So yeah.
And very quickly, I just want to say that this is really hard. This is really challenging. I would never, when I was you guys' age, I wouldn't put myself through this. And yet you guys did. So thank you for doing that. And also, I think you all can contribute, and do an amazing job. And I appreciate each and every single one of you. Brandon, I like your smarts. You're very intelligent. Maximiliano, you were very relatable, right? I appreciate your honesty, your relatability. Sylvie, your passion, your love for your community. Ruben, your work ethic, definitely appreciate that. And Ken, your bravery. I think you all can. I know that you all will be successful, regardless of what will happen. And I look forward to hearing about all of the accomplishments that each one of you will perform throughout this year and for years to come. Thanks again.
Bruce.
Well, it's been said several times, but we were pretty impressed. So thank you for being willing to do this. And I guess what I want to touch on is that education is actually, you kind of expect that we would think this, but I think even in reality, education is one of the most important things that happens around here. And it's what helps the community function, and it's what helps our nation function and the world do better with more education and more equitability of it. And that you are interested in being part of the education system, understanding it better, having your voice and your fellow students' voices heard, that's extremely important. And it may be important beyond any of our individual lives, in the sense of we're doing this because we care about what comes next for our world and our society, and that's going to be from the students. So I just love that you showed up here and are willing to do this, and your role in the world of education, whatever it might turn out to be, you're already appreciated by those of us who are in this role. Thank you.
Okay. And as Bruce said, the position of Board of Education is probably the closest to position in the political world to a family and to the community. So I will say congratulations to Ruben Marcus from SoCal High School. We would be very honored if you would join our board.
Thank you so much.
I can just share congratulations, Ruben, but really to all the students, you are an inspiration. I got to work with many of you this summer and some of you in other areas. And I can't wait to work with you in different ways as county superintendent. And I'm so inspired by each of you. You are the reason why we do what we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any next steps? All of you have a couple or at least one more year. So do not hesitate to think about next year.
So
whether it be on this board or on your own district.
So you're welcome to stay in the meeting or you're able to go home and get working on homework if you'd like. Andres Ortiz can walk you out, and then Ruben, we're gonna take a picture of the group, and then Ruben, we're gonna follow up with you first for orientation. Could we get a group of all the students who participated at the front, please?
In the middle there.
Good job, man.
Thanks.
So you should try to like high five.
Perfect. Here, 1, 2, 3. Got it. Great job, everybody. Congratulations.
Good job.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you for that.
It's an honor.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Let me grab you. Say thank you to you. That way. Oh. Facing you through the crowd. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pass those candies. You're hogging my cases. She wasn't.
I told you. Yeah, that's very said. Thank you for all of the work.
Oh, yeah, 6:35.
Made it difficult. And she said, "Celebrate."
Chocolate. We need sugar to keep awake, yes. I knew it was gonna be a late night.
And we need to, when we leave, turn all this into Berenice.
While you're writing on.
A little bit. Yes, we are. We're moving on to the public hearing, sufficiency of instructional materials. Dr. Spahn.
Yes, we are grateful to our amazing staff for their patience. And we thought about putting them before the interviews, but we thought, no. So one of the responsibilities of the county board is to ensure that our programs, that the students in our programs have the sufficient number of materials that are aligned to the state standards as required by the education code. And so part of our process is for the representatives from our schools, in this case, our amazing, wonderful executive director, Johnny Rice, to share and assure you that students have access to a sufficient number of aligned, California standards aligned. The floor is yours.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Ms. Bond. Right.
Mr. Rice.
It's pretty tough to follow that. Yeah. I got a real exciting zinger here though, so hold on, guys. Sing us with it. Seriously though, good evening, everybody. Good evening, trustees. It really is nice to see everyone and to be here. And this is, as Ferris stated, a pretty straightforward item, I think, for you this evening. We're asking that you adopt a resolution confirming sufficiency of text and materials for core subjects in our school programs. This is an annually required resolution. I can assure you with confidence that we do indeed have sufficient materials. And I'll just talk you through a few of the steps that we took to get there. To begin with, at the end of the school year last year in May, we had our teachers inventory all of their texts. And over the summer, we made the necessary purchases to account for any loss. In addition to that, as school got underway in August, we surveyed our teachers again, and anyone that was short of anything, we located extras and redistributed things as necessary. We also took additional care to make sure that all of the students had access to technology needed to participate fully in digital learning, both at home and in school. We also have 4 curriculum-based initiatives this year that ensure common materials across sites and programs, as well as sufficiency of materials. One is a new integrated math program. The second is an English language arts program. The third and fourth are online learning platforms. And if we have just a few more minutes, my plan is to just tell you a little bit about each one of them. Is that okay? Start with the math. We've adopted the Reveal series along with Alex by McGraw-Hill. Reveal is a digital and textbook-based integrated approach to math that ensures students across all our programs are able to access the same common, standards-based, accessible material in a similar format that they would encounter in a comprehensive high school. What's really great about this program, though, is that it also includes full digital access to Alex. Alex is an individualized, adaptable assessment and tutorial system that works with each student to ensure sufficient practice and scaffolding are provided to fill gaps so that all students can reach grade level and beyond. Right way. All right. And I'd also like to tell you just a little bit about our English language arts program. Our adopted English language arts program, Reading with Relevance, is a Bay Area local evidence and standards-based literature program with social emotional learning components that guides students and educators through the process of reading culturally relevant, socially rich, fiction and nonfiction literature and texts. The curriculum breaks high-interest, diverse books into a series of thoughtful daily lesson plans that culminate in a final writing product. Each lesson and unit is designed to support educators in exploring the social and emotional themes of the day's reading, inspiring students to read deeply, think critically, talk openly, and write reflectively about topics that matter. Thanks to the work from our own team, Reading with Relevance courses for English language arts credit have been University A through G approved and can count toward university admission. Some of our common texts for the year are shown here at the bottom. We started the year with Street Life, Poverty, Gangs, and a PhD, and we'll finish the year with March, a memoir by the late civil rights leader and Senator John Lewis. Finally, I'll tell you just a little bit about our 2 online learning platforms together, Bright Thinker and Accelerate Education. Bright Thinker is our main platform that provides a comprehensive selection of middle and high school courses and materials for both classroom and individual use. Courses can be customized and can be used synchronously, like a digital textbook, or asynchronously for independent study. What's different than most online providers is that Bright Thinker also caters to the digitally averse students, providing all of the same materials in a print option. And as we know so well in alternative education, when it comes to curriculum and instruction, one size just doesn't always fit all. This is where Accelerate Education comes in. Accelerate is simply another online learning provider. Between the two, we're able to offer more diversity in courses and also cater to a diversity in learning modalities. With district licenses in both, we're able to offer all academic subjects, plus a number of electives and even some CTE opportunities to all of our students. And notably, new for this year, we're able to offer immediate access to the newly state required course in ethnic studies, which officially goes into effect next school year. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Anybody?
Hey, not Johnny.
Yes, thank you too.
Any questions?
None is
I like
fine.
your reading this. I read a couple of them already.
I was just thinking, I think I'm gonna read the books along with you guys. So that seems like a really nice. I just wanted to appreciate you all for going the extra mile, making sure that you were also looking at technology, availability to the students aside from just, the books, which are obviously very important. But thank you for the work and ensuring that they have what they need.
Thank you.
Yes, no.
As usual, good work. But we do this every year, and I love the list of books and the resources and how resourceful you all are. So I'd be happy to make the motion if we're ready.
that'll be, item 11.6 resolution, but if there's no further questions, we'll move to the resolution. Okay, Bruce? Want to make that?
I'd like to move resolution 24-34, sufficiency of instructional materials.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Edward.
In discussion, could I just make a comment? Just I
Yes.
just wanted to.
Skip right over you.
That's okay. I'm sure that Johnny is ready to. I just did want to, something that Johnny mentioned that I think is really important, which is our approach about building learning for students as opposed to trying to fit students, and some of the adaptations, the evolution of the programs. You'll see that we try out different kinds of systems, and we provide lots of options for teachers. When you visit our classrooms, you'll see a variety of different engagement strategies for students. The student at Oasis is going to have a different experience than the student at Sequoia, and the students within those schools are going to have different experiences because we are constantly customizing those learning environments. And so it's I've learned so much from this amazing alternative education team, and I think one of the reasons that we are one of the most successful and largest alternative education programs in the state is because of how effectively this team is able to serve the needs of our students. So I just want to give kudos to Johnny and Jeniza Gonzalez and the amazing team of educators that are serving our students.
Feeling served.
We have a very special team. Okay. Would you like to?
Do we vote?
Nope, we're doing roll call.
Trustee Acosta?
Aye.
Trustee Estrada?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Sanchez?
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen? Trustee Williams?
Yes.
President Roth?
Yes. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we are moving to item 11.7, Personnel Commission vacancy, appointment of nominee. And Dr. Spa?
Yes, thank you. So as you know, part of the being a merit district, we follow a different set of rules than of districts that are non-merit. And part of what a merit district means is that there is a personnel commission that has 3 representatives, a person who is selected by the board, a person who is selected by CSEA, our classified bargaining unit, and a person who is selected from both, is agreed upon from both parties. And so we have some amazing, wonderful folks who are participating in our personnel commission, and they have terms, and you get to, when their terms are up, you get to identify and approve certain participants. And today, your appointment would support, if you so choose to support Lynn Miller, to renew their term as a part of the personnel commission. You can see a little bit about Lynn, a banana slug, and with a background in everything from serving students as well as some healthcare, and has participated in the juvenile justice, crime and delinquency prevention, and has spent over 14 years in areas that are related to many of the services for our community. Retired in 1989 and was worked as director of Santa Cruz, San Benito County Child Support until they retired. And Lynn also worked as a consultant after retirement, and currently as a retiree volunteers for the Youth Resource Bank of Santa Cruz County, Sutter, and with us at the COE. They joined the Personnel Commission as a joint appointee in August of 2016, and Lynn has agreed to another 3-year term if approved. As a joint appointee, it means that the CSEA has also recommended Lynn. So with your approval, that Lynn would represent the joint appointee between county board and the CSEA. We hope that you would consider an appointment for Lynn for another 3-year term.
That's a resume. Thank you, Paris. Do we have a motion?
I just have a quick question. What is the process for the renewal or applicants or that sort of thing? For that joint? Or is it just traditional that as long as they're willing, we just reappoint?
Yeah, we kind of get the word out, but it's generally speaking, we have to find people to be willing to participate. And so I don't think we've had a case where we've had 2 people who are interested at the same time for the same spot. And so as a result of that, we usually encourage people who are already on there to continue as if they're able to. And so that really, it is kind of there isn't a formal process for that because of the nature of the position.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I move that the board appoint Lynn Miller to another term on the Personnel Commission.
Okay. Motion made by Bruce, a second by
I'll second it.
Sandra Nichols. Any further comment, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, the next is the first reading of this is item 11.8. First reading board policy, the 6,000 series of instruction, and it is BP 6158, independent studies. Paris?
Yes, I wanted to share that independent studies has evolved significantly since the pandemic. That many of the laws have not, in fact, been updated for quite some time. And this is welcome, especially and very important for us because because we do so much independent study either as part of a student's educational experience or most of their educational experience, the majority of it. And this board policy is something that we've received from CSEA. It's recommended by them. The idea is that independent study is designed to customize the educational students, the plans for educational students. That students must be carefully screened so that there's not an overuse or underuse of independent study, that it could be offered part-time or full-time, that it is designed for students who are who have an IEP, that it is only utilized if it is included in an IEP, and also that the minimum amount of time for independent study is 5 consecutive school days, so that it's not used for less than that. Are there any other components of this, Johnny, that you want to? As part of it? No, I think I got it covered.
Jen, you have
I think we got it covered, Jen. We got it covered?
Yes.
I think the other piece is that parents must contact the superintendent or designee to request independent study, and so that it is approval from parents, which is something we've always done, but that's also now part of the board policy. And so, this idea of a comprehensive system articulated, I think most of these are already in place. It's not going to require many changes for us because we already had such a diligent system already in place, but now this board policy will ensure that we are following the modifications in the education code.
I reviewed this because I was involved in the last time we modified this policy, and a little more specifics from what Paris mentioned, that in some ways this is more permissive for us from our point of view about accommodating different types of independent study, including longer ones, but to balance the permissiveness for the additional permissiveness, whatever, allowed activities or types. There's a little more strictness about making sure of certain things, about approvals and accountability and reporting back and things like that. The major substantive change was actually to, there are two types of independent studies. One of them is limited to what was 14 days. It's now limited to 15 days. And so the most common change actually in the text was changing the number 14 to 15, or in some cases, there's references to students engaged in independent study of 16 or more. So and that had previously been 15 or more. So 15 was changed to 16. So those are the main changes actually. And to me, it seemed to really accommodate our approach, which is to try to make system fit students. And we have a little more flexibility with that. So I think it's a great set of changes.
And I appreciate you bringing that, because this idea of short-term independent study and long-term independent study, the idea of being able to support students, you know, in both of those kind of timeframes, and then ensuring that, because if a student is going to be participating for the longer term, there's additional requirements, kind of a bigger commitment, if you would, to that more structured independent study. I do think that, just generally speaking, independent study is going to continue as we are looking to address the chronic absenteeism rate in our schools. Schools are looking to recoup ADA and also help students continue their educational programming while they're not coming to school. So we're gonna, I believe, see a significant increase in the use of independent study as one of the ways that schools are trying to re-engage students and improve their
I had one question, and that is, can a student have more than one of each of these independent studies within a year?
So when a student participates in independent study, they sit down after getting, identified, and they develop a plan, a comprehensive plan. And so a student in that plan, you could have one course for independent study, or you could have multiple courses. Some of our students, their full educational experience is in IS, but I think and other kinds of programs that we utilize could be, like at Oasis, for example, many of the students. So as long as it is included in the plan is reviewed by the parents, and students are being successful in its completion. It could be something that could last their whole high school career, or it could be a single, few units of coursework that they're completing in addition to the in-person instruction. Was that good? Was that a good explanation?
Was your question, Sue, if they could do short and long term?
Well, say you were on short term, independent study, and towards the part of the year, you need to do something else again with the same student.
You want me to use the mic or?
Yes, please.
So technically, a student could be on short-term and long-term in the same instructional year, because short-term is used for anything. So say in the beginning of the school year, I know I'm going to be out on a trip, or I'm sick. You can now be on short-term independent studies starting on day one. And so I could start the school year and not have any intention of going to long-term independent studies, but be on short-term because I'm going to be out for a little bit. And then maybe some other time during the school year, I decide, and my family decides, I want to do independent studies for the 16 or more days, which was changing every 15 to 16 in that document. Then you would sign up for long-term independent studies. So there's two types. And so technically you could do two types in one school year. The contracts are signed for long-term independent studies for one school year, up to one school year.
Can you do two short term?
Yeah, so another change in the law this year is that
I tried to find it.
yeah, so well, it's not all for parts of it, it's just in our audit processes and how we do it for short-term independent studies. Now, one flexibility that they offered is, instead of signing the independent study short-term IS contract for that specific time when you're out, you can technically sign it anytime during the school year. So for example, my kids were just out of school for a few days, And so I can sign the contract for short-term IS anytime with my kid's school district this school year, and they can recoup that ADA because of that flexibility now. So you can sign one, so now what some school districts are gonna start to do is, hey, it's available for families to sign, and then you can, you know, when you're out, it's just already in place. But this is so brand new, and we're probably one of the first that are getting the policy updated, that it's new for everyone. But that flexibility is great for that recouping ADA for when students are out sick, going on vacation, or something like that. But thank you so much, Dr. Saban and Trustee Van Allen, and thanks also for always reading it so carefully, and any typos are always found. So thank you.
Thank you. So this is a first reading. Do we want to bring it back, or are we sufficiently?
I have a
Oh,
question,
go ahead.
and, so I noticed that we were removing, the language independent study to implement the assembly bill. Is there a reason for removing it completely instead of referencing that that's what led to the initial policy, or? It's not on the new one, so it's just, I wasn't familiar with the first one, so I just did a comparative to both documents to see what changed. So,
I'm not sure why that one reference. I have to look into that.
yes, so the quote is, independent study to implement Assembly Bill 130 and Assembly Bill 167, which is usually which was prompted the original.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering why it got removed instead of being still referenced as this is.
Because those assembly bills have now been replaced by
Just-
the new one. Yeah.
Okay, just replaced, okay, so. And then, there's a paragraph that begins, an evaluation shall be, et cetera. California has a typo, it's misspelled on that one.
If possible, if then anything I could fix that typo, and if the board is willing to waive the second reading so that we could update our contracts, which have all been updated, and start implementing the new policy sooner, that would be a request, but obviously we will roll with whatever.
That's my recommendation, is that we waive the second reading.
And fix that type.
And
Yeah,
fix the
just
second.
go through for punctuation and formalities,
Is there a second?
yeah. I'll second.
So I'm making the motion, sure.
Yeah.
You
That's
said-
the
you-
way I
you-
did
you
that.
already said
Sorry.
that. You already said it.
Bruce, did you restate your motion?
I move that the board adopt the updated board policy 6158 on independent study and waive the second reading.
Second?
Second.
A motion by Bruce, second by Rachel. Any further comment or question? All those in favor say aye.
It's a written-
Is it a
resolution.
No, I don't think so. It's just the.
Okay, just sit roll call.
We're okay?
We're okay. Everybody's good.
It's getting weird.
It's not my day. Anyway, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now into 11.9. Drum roll. Anyway, 2023-24 unaudited actual financial statement. Want to say anything or just pass it over?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Leanne Reyes and the Amazing Business Services team. Thank you for being here and for your patience. So appreciate your hard work on this.
I was wondering if everybody wanted to do like a little bendy stretch break or something
Yeah.
before I launch into this. Anyway, good evening, and we are nearing the end if I'm talking about unaudited actuals for 23-24. First and foremost, of course, many thanks to our internal business services team, Tara Lee, Brooke Rosso, Shaylin Sexton, Nitia Ambrosi, and Michelle Kennedy. This is, closing the books is a little bit different because going through the interim periods, we do a lot of work with our individual department and program folks. But at the end of the year, it is what it is. And so a lot of work then falls on this internal team to finalize, reconcile, balance, record payables, record receivables, offset deferred revenue. A lot of work at the end of the year. I can't even begin to account for the number of hours that it requires. And I'm glad I have a great team who does it. So today's discussion will be on GASB 31 from last year. Those of you who are around, this may be familiar, but for some of our newer folks, we will talk about the impacts of GASB 31. A brief overview of the 23-24 unaudited actuals. Key differences between the 23-24 estimated actuals and then our unaudited actuals. And then what's next? Good night. She's trying to be all sneaky. Let's do it. Okay, so GASB 31, it's been around since March of 1997, and it requires the reporting of the financial effect of all unrealized, and this is always the big word I try to emphasize, unrealized gains and losses on our invested funds. Now, in the past, this was always recorded just as an adjusting entry during the audit, and then it was reflected in our audit report and on our state financial reporting software, and not actually recorded in our books. Considered material, though, starting in 23-24, we were required by auditors to record this information in our books, or we would end up with an audit finding. Most boards are not happy with audit findings, so we were kind of forced to take this action to record this. So reporting of these unrealized gains or losses of invested funds simply applies to our cash on hand at the county treasurer's office, the entire pool of money. So it's unplanned because these amounts are unknown to us until the county treasurer's office actually reconciles their books for June cash. So this year, the result was an unrealized decrease to our unrestricted revenue of $1,047,000. When we have to book an unrealized loss to our actual revenue, however, it has a false negative impact in this case on our unrestricted ending fund balance of June 30 and caused our ending fund balance to drop to $27,208,500. The happy news is that the entry is reversed in the next fiscal year. So we pretty much operate off of real information, I'm going to say, until we close the books at the end of the year. And then on July 1, in theory, everything gets reset again. So if this entry had not been booked, our real ending fund balance would have been in the unrestricted side of our budget, $28,256,000. And the unrestricted deficit, which you will see on our books of negative $1,453,893, would have actually only been $406,398. And the reason I like to bring this out and remind you is that when you go back and you compare to our estimated actuals, our unrestricted deficit was predicted or projected to be $484,000. So that's a very close number. Any questions on that, or we're good? We're good, it looks like. Sure, go ahead.
If I remember correctly, I think you mentioned was it maybe last year, that enforcement of GASB 31 really wasn't uniform across auditors?
Correct.
Is there much of a change in that, or is it?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm still hearing that it's kind of dependent and contingent on who your auditing firm is. Our auditing firm used to be VTD, and it was recently bought out in the last couple of years from Eide Bailly. Eide Bailly is a lot stricter auditing firm. Even our partner that we work with was like, I know this entry, it causes a lot of problems, but we're being told we have to make you do it. You know, the danger of this entry is, what if the unrealized hadn't been a loss but had been a gain? So you could have boards who don't understand this process that think, wow, we ended with a fallout of plus $1 million, right? And it's like, it's not real, or your unions or other individuals. So I really wanted to make sure we take the time, because right now in the last 2 years, we're looking at an unrealized loss, but that could change. And we might be looking at a gain, and then I have to tell you, sorry, we really don't have that much money, right? So it's kind of a tricky entry.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So moving on to the next slide. This is a very high-level summary of our unaudited actuals. The first column is our unrestricted budget, and the second is our restricted budget. Our beginning balances, of course, remain the same, and then we'll just work our way down the unrestricted budget, which is column A on your SACS reports. Our revenues, transfers in / contributions for the unrestricted budget was $34,465. Our expenditures and transfers out was $35,919, leaving us with a net decrease to our ending fund balance of $1.4 million and an ending unrestricted fund balance of $27,208, of which the $27 million has all been assigned, and those details you can find on your SACS form, Form 01, page number 2. On your restricted side of the budget, column B, our beginning balance, of course, $6 million. We add to that $38 million, $434 in revenue. Subtract out $35,474. I said 474 last time, not 434. 474 in expenses. That means we had an increase in our restricted revenue of $2.9 million, or an ending restricted fund balance of $9.3 million. So again, the takeaways, we have a combined total ending fund balance of $36 million. It's important to remember that $9.3 million of that has strings attached and can only be spent on specific things. So it's really important to differentiate those balances between unrestricted and restricted. Examples of some programs that fall into our restricted budget now is our routine and restricted maintenance budget, and also the residual remaining amounts of our one-time COVID-related funds from the federal and state government. We are winding a lot of those down, though, also making our internal business services division extremely giddy because they've had to run out tons of reports and track all of that, and it's been a lot of work for them. Also included in the total expenditures for unrestricted, it's that $1.5 million worth of contributions that go over to our restricted programs. Primarily, it's for our alternative education, special ed, and then also for our, the majority is for our routine restricted maintenance. Again, if you want, there's a detailed list of what all the assignments are on that page 2 of your SACS form 01. Okay. So this is, next slide is a representation then now of our combined unrestricted and restricted budgets, comparing to estimated versus where we ended up the year at unaudited. We can see that our revenues and transfers in were off by about $2 million, and we'll get into the detail of that in a moment. Also, our expenditures came in under budget by $2.3 million. Our our combined increase ended up at $1.5 million, which is a $314,000 improvement. And our ending fund balances, again, we thought that we were going to come in about 35 million, but we actually came in at 36,566,000 combined. So let's go ahead to the next slide. We'll talk a little bit about some of the changes. So in our unrestricted revenue, again, it decreased by about 1.9 million, primarily due to our federal SMAW pass-through dollars, and of course our GASB 31 fair market value adjustment over that $1 million we just talked about. Our unrestricted expenses declined by about 1.6 million as department budget adjustments were aligned to the final anticipated encumbrances and their final expenditures. And we saw a lot of improvement in our services and supplies account codes across all departments. And they also declined on the restricted side of the budget in conjunction with using up of the one-time monies that we had. Our SMAW pass-through, I mentioned that earlier, that we were down on our revenue for SMAW, but as you know, we just kind of receive the money in and then we turn around and we send it out. And so our original budget was a little bit high based on what we actually did receive. So that, again, money, though it's a pass-through, money in, money out, it doesn't really affect us at the end of the day. It just makes some of our anticipated numbers look a little off, but it does not affect our bottom line. Oops. All right, on the restricted side of the budget, we saw an increase in our Medi-Cal LEA BOP of about $959,000. And then changes with other programs. We've got the LCFF Equity Multiplier, which was new money for us this year. And so overall, we saw a slight improvement. Well, it's $1 million, primarily due to that billing system of the LEA BOP. Also, our restricted expenses declined by 1.6 million because again, department adjustments, services and supplies, and also the small. So next slide. Thank you. So the change to total fund balance when compared to our 23-24 estimated versus the 23-24 unaudited actuals resulted in a net increase to the total combined ending fund balance of $1.4 million. Again, unrestricted change was a negative $969,000, and our restricted budget changed by $2.4 million. Again, some of that is rolling over estimated balances that are still to be spent out on one-time monies that we have multiple years to spend, but we are starting to get to the bottom of those. Although we have a couple of our Mr. Painter and other individuals in our organization who have been bringing in lots of restricted dollars, and you're going to see a lot of changes throughout the course of the year with some of the amazing grants that we've been receiving. It's exciting and scary, I'm sure, for internal business services.
That's kitty.
Very, very scary. So our final thoughts and next steps is that our special reserve fund for other than capital outlay projects, our Fund 17, is ending with $3.3 million. We were right at 5%, and then at the last minute, Melissa was like, darn, I forgot about that silly GASB entry. So when you look at our report in real money, we are at 5%, but in GASB 31 money, it looks like we're slightly under. But that will reverse and we will still be at our 5% requirement. We're finalizing work with our auditors, which will be completed in December. And also now we're adjusting our budgets for first interim for 24-25. The actual formal GAN and GAN resolution we will bring to you at our October meeting. We try really hard. We do actually have until October to close the books, but we've been trying really hard to close in September. So that allows us to have time and room for our auditors' requests, but also adjustments moving into first interim. And we have found that when we wait until October to actually close the books, it really condenses our timeline on the back end. So also many thanks to our internal team for making that deadline September for me. And then we will continue with our ongoing monitoring of revenue and expenditures as always. So final thoughts. I saw this last night on the next slide, please. I was at the Santa Cruz City Schools board meeting last night, and I saw this quote that Jim Monreal had from Santa Cruz City Schools, and I really appreciated it. And I thought I'd share it with you this evening as a budget is telling your money where you want it to go or where it should go instead of wondering where it went. Any questions, Sue, or we're good?
I'm just in amazement with you and your team. I start looking at all those figures and I go, more power to you. And made the budget actually work, that where you're telling it to go, and it made power be with you.
I had a conversation with upcoming new board member, Greg Larson. And he has extensive experience in local government and education and budgeting and fiscal management and things like that. And he said that he was pretty impressed with how complicated education funding is compared to his other experiences, which I seconded. Yeah, thanks.
I'd be aboard. Anything else except gratitude? Kudos. Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
There's no action.
Think
It's
so.
just a report.
Sorry, informational.
Thank you
And
so
just
much,
positive-
Leanne and team.
Positive thoughts. Okay, 11.10, Resolution 2435, recognizing United Against Hate Week.
Ma'am? Yes, so this resolution is, you've seen this before. So working, United Against Hate Week it starts on September 21st through September 27th. And it is an opportunity for us as a community to stand against hate, to stand against slurs, against any kind of toxic assertion that really isolates, diminishes, or marginalizes communities. And it is about uplifting and celebrating the diversity that exists in our community and really standing together. I have to say that we are hearing in our schools of an increase in the use of the N-word and other slurs, and of students not feeling like they belong. And so I think it's more important than ever for us to stand together as a community and take steps to bring awareness, to really support those who have been victimized by hate, and also to ensure that our classrooms, our schools, our communities are places where students belong and where they are free of hate. I want to really commend Nick Ibarra. He has been working on a toolkit that goes with our participation as a resource for educators and community members to be able to have resources of things that they can present to students, things that can be posted online, and really utilize this collection of information and to support this effort. And so, Nick, do you you want to share just a little bit about what this, not so much the resolution, but what about the toolkit and what ways that we are supporting this effort?
Of course, thank you, Dr. Sabah. So for the past several years, we've prepared a school toolkit in partnership with the school districts. And it contains classroom activities, suggested activities that teachers can incorporate throughout the week. And we've heard great responses from teachers who've done some of these activities. Schools can also incorporate them into lunchtimes and breaks. And finally, it also contains a list of events that are happening throughout the week that our partners are hosting. So there's a coalition of groups that partner with us to recognize United Against Hate Week, and there are events taking place throughout the week. So check it out.
Any, Sandra, do you want to add? Sandra, do you want to add anything?
Well, I'm looking at this resolution and I'm only summarizing the words that are in the resolution and what we reject: hatred, racism, prejudice, violence, and bullying in all forms. I'm going to be supporting the resolution. I hate that resolution. Okay.
Is there
We're not out there yet.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2435, recognizing United Against Hate Week.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce?
It got it.
I gotcha. Okay.
And thank you for that toolkit. Something to back up the resolution. That's awesome.
I had one comment, and I don't mean this as in any way against this or criticism or anything, but the phrase, and I think this must be, the set phrase, at least for this year, hate has no place. Sorry, there's hate all over the place. Hate is here. I would say hate has no constructive place in our society, or something like that, to add an adjective there, because there is hate. It's all over. We've had it come at our board. So again, that's a statement obviously meant to be aspirational, not factual. So I'm accepting it. I'm not saying we should change it, but my perspective is hate has to be actually worked against, because it's all over the place and tends to come up when there's inequality and other stresses on society. So anyway, just a perspective. But I'm not against the motion at all. I totally support it.
Okay, this is a roll call vote. Is there anything?
Trustee Acosta?
Aye.
Trustee Estrada?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Sanchez?
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen? Trustee Williams?
Yes.
President Roth?
Yes. Moving on to item 11.11, resolution number 24-36, recognizing October as LGBTQ+ History Month.
Yes, thank you so much. Looking at, this is, the month of October is in the month of June, we celebrate Pride Month, and in the month of October, we celebrate LGBTQ+ History Month, which includes, as required in the Education Code, awareness and the teaching of the contribution of LGBTQ figures in history and in our community. And you'll see here that this was part of the civil rights movement for our LGBTQ+ community. And this specifically, this recognition was established in 1994 in Missouri High School. And so we're asking you to support this resolution so that our community is able to support the teaching and learning of the contribution of LGBTQ+ community members historically and in the present.
And Sandra, would you like to add anything?
Well, we haven't actually voted on the student trustee applications. And I had something to add about that, and I'm sitting.
We did.
We did? Okay. Well, then I'm going to stick some things on there. Okay. So my favorite candidate was Sylvie. I liked the way she talked, and I liked the things that she had put down here. Do you participate in any other clubs or school activities? If so, which ones? And she has the ones that are really important. The Multicultural Club, and she was the co-founder and the president. And another one is Youth for Environmental Action at Aptos. They shorten that to YEA, Y-E-A. And she was also the founder and president of YEA with Santa Cruz County Office of Education and several other groups, such as Track and Field and Model UN. I don't know what Sage.
Sandra, I'm sorry, we can't discuss, this is now an old previous item, and so we're not really able to talk to it, but if you were to pass that, your notes to, we'll add it to our collection of notes that we collected from the board members. I'm sorry you missed your opportunity earlier to speak to this when the item was up. But please, if you wouldn't mind passing your notes down, we will be sure to include it in our collection. Thank you.
My notes, all of my notes?
Just from the green folders on the, that's all. They're all gonna pass their green folders down to them, so, yeah.
Okay, this is a resolution and I need a motion.
I have a request on the resolution, suggestion to not include specific names, but rather just say community members and elected officials versus naming individuals.
You know, it's interesting because over the years we've done this resolution, we have added names every year, especially local LGBTQ+ leaders, as making that local history more. There are more people that we could add.
Well, yeah, that was my question. What if we miss somebody?
Well, that's a good point. And we're not like it was in the 80s where, John Laird was the only gay man elected around here or something like that, but open anyway.
I just feel like it would be more inclusive if we just said community members and elected officials, because you might have folks in city council or, school boards or in smaller areas, and kind of like April was mentioning, I don't want to miss anybody, but I feel like just doing that, it is all inclusive. Just my.
I
comment.
agree. But is there any other comment? Otherwise, I can make a motion.
So do you want to make a motion including a
Yes.
more inclusive statement?
Yeah, saying LGBTQ plus community members and elected officials across Santa Cruz County have made significant contributions to our community. And then end it there and say and.
I'll second that.
So you were,
He made the motion.
okay. Edward and Rachel, the seconds. Okay, so were you able to capture that? Okay, so Verity, say if you would. Please.
Trustee Acosta?
Aye.
Trustee Estrada?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Sanchez?
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen? Trustee Williams?
Yes.
President Roth?
Yes. Moving right along, 11.12, Resolution 2437, recognizing October 13th through the 19th week of the school administrator. So, Dr. Swab?
Yes, we celebrate our classified staff and our teachers, and we also want to celebrate our administrators and those who are supporting those wonderful folks who are working directly with students. And of course, our administrators do that as well. This is a tradition for us to be able to cover this kind of broad concept of an administrator. We mean the managers, we mean folks that are kind of outside of the teacher, kind of the traditional certificated or classified staff who have authority over the schools and the districts and the county office of education, and really highlight the importance of their role in supporting excellence and equity in our schools.
Sandra, would you like to add anything as chairman of the Community Outreach and Legislative Committee?
Which, what number is it?
11.12, Resolution 24-37.
Well, 11.2 has to do with the student appointments.
1-2.
What's this?
School.
11-12.
11.12.
Yes.
This is, have we done this before?
Yes.
Yes, but not tonight, right? Last year?
Last year.
Encompasses various educational leadership roles, including superintendents, principals, curriculum leaders, and more. I'm certainly willing to put forward the resolution that is addressed in 11.12.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sandra. Motion with Edward F. second. Again, this is a roll call vote, and Bernice, if you would be so kind.
Trustee Acosta?
Aye.
Trustee Estrada?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Sanchez?
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
President Roth?
Yes, thank you so much. And I would like to just walk you through some important updates of exciting things that are, oops. Wanted to share with you that we continue to see an increase in food insecurity in Santa Cruz County. And Second Harvest Food Bank has been, as you know, a champion of to support families. More than 60,000 individuals get food help from Second Harvest Food Bank on a monthly basis. 60,000 is over a quarter of our real population in Santa Cruz County. And so we are working on launching the campaign for the 24-25 school year. And so we are going to share a link with you if you would be interested in launching a campaign to fundraise. Every dollar provides 3 meals. And I have the honor of being one of the campaign spokespeople for Second Harvest Food Bank this year in conjunction with Chris Murphy from the Santa Cruz Warriors. And so we're really wanting to get the word out about the importance of this work. There's going to be lots of events we'll be sharing with you that you can participate in. We have a chef's dinner that I believe we're getting a table at, and so we'll have some. It would be great if you could join us for dinner at that. And all of the resources, all the donations, every single dollar goes directly to providing these food services, right? And so, so just wanted to share that with you, and we're trying to drum up as much support for this effort. I wanted to share with you for the first time, at least in my experience, we participated in a showcase, a County Office of Education Ed Camp showcase at the Santa Cruz County Fair. And there was some logistical issues. They first put us behind in this area that nobody was even aware of, but later we got into one of the rooms, and really grateful to the Ed Services team here who had a bunch of different tables, robots, books, a bunch of different activities for students, mathematics, quizzes and fun games and whatnot. And it was just a great opportunity for us to connect with the community and let them know a little bit about what the County Office of Education does. I did want to share with you that we had over 58 students who signed up for this year's robotics team. Both in Watsonville and in Santa Cruz, right over here. And so we're excited to, we continue to see it grow and thrive, and we're also partnering with the school districts to try to promote robotics education there. Nicole Young continues to work on a new strategic plan and will be coming in October, correct? To bring a draft of the strategic plan to share with you. Belonging is the theme, and so you're going to be hearing a lot about what belonging means in conjunction, of course, with equity and diversity and inclusion. And so we're going to be talking not only about how we can create spaces for individual students to belong, but how do we ensure that all of our school communities are places of belonging for all our families, all our students across the county. I wanted to share with you that we applied for a grant in conjunction with PVPSA and all law enforcement agencies for Prop 47 for diversion. And diversion is when a young person is what we call impacted or contacted by law enforcement. They can get an infraction, they can get a misdemeanor or even a felony. If it's on the lower side, like a misdemeanor or an infraction, diversion gives them an opportunity for them not to go through the court system or get any consequences on the record. And so Watsonville PD has a wonderful program in conjunction with PVPSA called Caminos. And we want to expand that program to all students in the county, because all the other law enforcement agencies, including Sheriff's Office, doesn't have a diversion program. And so we're still finding out exactly how much funding we're getting, but it's a significant allocation. And it will allow us to implement diversion programs across the county. Every law enforcement agency, every minor who is contacted by law enforcement, we will have therapeutic support, family engagement, volunteer hours, mentoring support, and a variety of other programs, because we want to replicate what they're doing in Watsonville PD, which has a 94% success rate where students who participate in diversion do not return with, they don't have recidivism. And so we're really excited about this, and we think it's unusual for county offices of education to be the leaders in this one. But we, Rishi Lal, our director of school safety, felt like this is something that we needed to put in place. Over 2,000 minors have contact with law enforcement every year. And most of those students do not have access to any kind of diversion option, which
That's
means
within
in Santa Cruz County, 2,000 students, correct. So once things get started, or maybe implemented a little bit later, we'll love to come back to you and give you some more information about this wonderful program.
Excellent.
And then this is Suicide Prevention Month. I believe you did pass a resolution at our last meeting. It continues to be a huge focus for us. You've probably heard about a young person who died by suicide last week. It is something that is the most heartbreaking aspect of any phone calls we ever get. And it's a reminder of the importance of the work that we're doing in behavioral health and the wellness centers and all the resources that we want to make sure that our students have the skills to help each of their peers, the parents have the awareness to be able to support and to refer their young people to get help. And so this is something that we're going to continue to champion, and we can't think of anything more important than that. A quick legislative update. I wanted to share with you some bills that are on the governor's desk and will likely get signed into law. One of them is AB 2181, which allows a student in juvenile court school to be exempt from local graduation requirements in order to continue receiving educational services. Once you graduate from high school, you're no longer an alternative education student. And so we're not supposed to continue to provide them an education because they're graduates. This is changing that, and this is a good thing. We're able to continue to provide them services, although honestly, I guess I shouldn't say this on the record, but we actually already do that. We already provide services to students. We don't turn our students away. But this actually makes it official that you continue to be our student, and we're going to continue to provide you career and technical education training and other supports even after you graduate from high school while you're an incarcerated youth. Looking at AB 3223, this is about expanding services to students who are adjudicated youth and making sure that we're providing support again for justice-involved youth. AB 3216 requires the governing board of an LEA to adopt and to update every 5 years a policy to limit or prohibit the use of its pupils of smartphones. So this is a requirement that will go into effect that would require schools to have a plan every 5 years about how we're going to limit access to cell phones. And so all the districts already have different kinds of programs, but now this is going to formalize that process, and it's required by law. And finally, SB 1315 requires the students, requires the CDE to provide a report on for LEAs to consolidate, truncate, and eliminate reports. You will hear a very loud cheering from a lot of the people that have to, from our business services, our ed services, all our different, and at all levels in the educational system, there is, what do they call the report? Reportageddon or something like that? It's some sort of pandemic, there we go, pandemic. And so there have been, every time, we shifted towards LCFF and there was a reduction in a lot of the restricted requirements. And then once there was a change in the governorship, they started bringing back a bunch of restrictions. And then with the pandemic, every time they would create a funding source, they would add a new report. And so there's just, this law will force the CDE to start reducing those, and this is something that is very well received, and people are very happy to hear that. Just some upcoming events. Very excited to share that on September 25th at Sequoia High School, we're going to help families find out if they have and how much they have in their college saving accounts. Only, you're going to see an op-ed that I'm writing with Nick's help. That's going to be in this is for Lookout, right? And so that'll be coming out in a little bit. And this is about, even though there is a significant portion of our families that have college savings accounts set up by the state or by the local nonprofits, venture community services, community ventures, that's right, thank you. More than 94% of families don't even know that that they have these accounts. Now, there's families that know about it. Research shows that they are two to three times more likely to go to college and finish college. And so, just knowing that you have a bank account and that you're able to deposit, even if there's not a lot of money in there, makes a huge difference on the likelihood that students are going to go to college. In addition, nonprofit agencies, federally qualified health centers are depositing money as a incentive for families to take their kids to get wellness checks. They get funding into their accounts, for example. And so this is kind of a new idea of helping families. It's like a win-win where families, the students benefit and in a variety of ways and also helps their trajectory and likelihood of going to college. We are participating and supporting a Rainbow Conference on September 28th on, I'm sorry, I just skipped over United, I guess, Hate Week, which we talked about earlier. The Rainbow Conference supporting our LGBTQ plus community and allies will be taking place on September 28th at Watsonville High School. We'll be participating in the Diversity Center Gala and would love to know if you're interested in joining us for dinner. And on October 19th, it's a lot of fun. And then also we have College and Career Family Night at Cabrillo College on October 21st. So lots of exciting events that we would love for you to participate with us in. If you have to choose one of these that are on the list, pick the first one. We'd love to see you there at Sequoia. It's going to be a lot of people, we hope. And we're being really creative with figuring out how to help families maybe who've never used a computer before, who perhaps speak Mixteco or Spanish. And we're going to try to figure out how we're adapting the system to meet their needs to make sure that they're getting the information that they need so that they know how much is in their child's college savings account. It's going to be really exciting. And I believe that is it for my updates. Thank you so much for, any questions for me?
I think I really like about the Watsonville Police
diversion program, yeah.
And I'm thrilled that we are stepping forward. It's education, plain and simple. So, good luck. With any other push them on that? Trustee reports. Sandra, anything to report?
I have not been well. And I have something that is not contagious and something that you've never heard about and I cannot pronounce. So there it is. I'm just trying to recover from this thing that it has caught a hold of me.
Well, heal fast.
Yeah. Thank you.
Edward?
I was able to go to the Monterey County Board Members Conference, something along those lines, by CSBA this last weekend in Monterey, and it was wonderful and got a lot of participation. And I think the meetings were super helpful. I attended one for workforce housing, which was very helpful, hearing actually from a COE that was able to do it, even though we can't, put a bond measure on the ballot, ways to maneuver with joint powers, authorities, things like that. It was very interesting. And I also got to, earlier this week, represent us at SCSBA, the local CSBA.
It went right by me.
Yeah, and so got to hear from local school districts, which many of them are implementing, are planning for workforce housing. And so they want as much support as possible. And they were like, we need to talk, and so I just passed them the message on that, it's going on all over our county. We're in desperate need of more housing. So it's really good, all the work that's being done. Yeah, not much else to report. This meeting is too long.
I will pass my time.
I also went to the conference this weekend. The two main things that I got from it, and I'm gonna bring back more, were in the area of counties and districts being better prepared for processing charter renewals and applications and so on. Alameda County developed a very elaborate system. They appreciated you, by the way, they told me. And their system is way bigger than I think we could try to do, but it had a lot of really good ideas, and maybe a sort of reduced version of it would be helpful for us. And the point is to be proactive, not when there's a crowd of people wanting a decision that night to figure it out, but to do it ahead of time. So we'll share some more stuff about that. And the other thing was the education workforce housing. I went to a couple things about that. I have some background in managing housing projects after the earthquake, and it was good to hear from them. But boy, is there a lack of knowledge in the education world about the complexities of housing development, especially affordable housing development. It's like two very complicated realms trying to figure out how to work together. And it will be challenging. It is challenging, but there were some great ideas that came forth. And I think there may be some things that we could do, either us directly or helping the districts. So I'm interested in pursuing that.
Okay, did a lot since our last meeting. I love being out in the community. Volunteered for PV Pride, both at the voter registration booth and also with the COUs. But I learned while I was there. I often passed it over to someone else for information, but it was good to be there. Also attended with Paris and other COE members, the Walnut Avenue Women's. Let's see here. Also joined the conference, the SCSB conference, reading conference. We did our ethics training and learned a lot with it being my first conference with the CSBE. And got a lot out of one of the last sessions that I went. Well, they went to the housing, I went to the wellness, and learned so much and changed my perspective on certain things, including cell phones in classes. So we had a really nice conversation at our dinner table, and so it was really nice to get some perspective and see what other districts are doing. I'm happy to share that with others at another time. And I joined the Inside Education program. So I've attended 2 of the sessions. We had an amazing campus visit yesterday from PCS, Bonnie Doon Elementary, and then the Pacific Elementary in Davenport. And that was by far the highlight. That school is so impressive. Those students are so impressive with their food lab and their life lab. And I could go on and on about it, but I won't. Let's see here. And I wanted to encourage, I know that it's not on one of the, I don't even know if it's sponsored, but there's a BHI student ambassadors to learn about HBCUs and UC Insights. That's on October 6th, and it's open to high school students and families, and this is taking place here. It's on a Sunday at COE. So if you know anybody that's interested, they can come, and that's all I got.
All right, I will just say that I don't know what that conference is called either.
I wrote it down.
County Board Member Services, I think, is something along those lines, I don't know. But it has to do with county COE, and I like it just because I feel like the work that we do is so unique, right? Even like to school districts. And it's hard, you know, I appreciate the local districts, but sometimes you don't really understand each other. But when you get COEs from other counties, then we're really talking. And to be honest with you guys, I think my favorite part was just the sitting down together with the trustees that were able to make it. You know, I think I appreciate learning from each one of you guys and just spending more time outside of, you know, these official meetings. I think that was very, nice and definitely a highlight for me, and also just a big other eye opener as to what's the important role that the county serves. I think that every school district, has their own goals, has their own procedures, and I've seen it, how the COEs have stepped in throughout different counties in the entire state to kind of form more of a unity, within those school districts. And, I saw it with our own district during COVID, right? During this time of chaos, time of uncertainty, we were able to just get everybody together in the same room and just kind of have a uniform approach as to how we're going to address, a problem. And again, I see that all over the state, how the COEs just kind of step in and kind of serve that leadership role. So definitely important, I would say, the work that we do, and definitely very appreciative to our own COE, and our leadership.
I too went to the CSBA County Board of Services. Where they came up with that, I don't know. This is a decision that they made last year at CSBA at the December meeting to actually put the county boards as District 14 and kind of take it away from the other group. They met all year long, and I think they were very successful, and I'm glad that it has happened. It was very good. And just as a little side thing, board retreat with Luann Rivera, if we could get that on to, and, set it up with Luann, February. Keep this unity going here. And I attended meeting or discussions on all the different charter variances that are now occurring. And the one thing that I went to that I was falling asleep, it was the last one, was proposition, not proposition.
I think it's 98.
No.
It's Prop 4, the education fund, or Prop 2. Prop 2 is the education.
No, it's not. It's
That's why she fell asleep.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, help me. The one where it was the one where it has to do with sexual harassment and Title IX. I'm sorry, my brain is just goofy. But proposition, yeah. Anyway, so Title IX, and I'm kind of just dozing because of the way it was presented. It was very, very good, but all the changes and whatever. And then at the end, somebody asked a question and about how it is being held hostage, that all the changes by 3 groups that were able to, in Kansas, get their Supreme Court in Kansas to uphold it, and they are able to go to different states, these 3 groups, and luckily it's, as far as I could tell, we're not one of the counties that's affected. It's either a school district or a school directly, where you may not adopt the new Title 13. Title 13. 9.
If I could just add some clarification.
Yes.
So there were new Title IX regulations that have gone into effect. Santa Cruz City Schools and Scotts Valley are 2 where these organizations, including Moms of Liberty is one of those organizations. However, they are able to implement the new Title IX regulations unless one of those 2 organizations petitions the courts for an injunction. in its implementation. So at this point, nobody has made that petition, and so they are utilizing the new Title IX regulations across the county, including those districts.
But they insinuated that they wanted to go to the Supreme Court, so it's a matter of where and who is going to be targeted, if I took it correct.
It's, I know that the process is ongoing, and so there could be additional, but at this point, those are the two districts that are impacted, and we're hopeful that there won't be a delay in their implementation.
And my question was, does it specifically have to deal with the student whose parent is part of those organizations? Or is it any student in Scotts Valley or that?
I don't think it requires a specific student. I think the organization could petition the courts for that school district. But I could get you more information because it's probably not the right appropriate time to do
Yeah,
that.
no, I realize that, but that will be up. Even though I actually blanked it from my mind, it upset me. Okay, so wanted to remind that we have a special meeting ahead of our next meeting at 3. And that has to do with property, not property line adjustment, but moving and, yeah, into a different district.
Yes, I just want to confirm you all saw that email that on October 17th, we'll be meeting at 3 as a school redistricting committee to hear a territory transfer for a petitioner wanting to leave the Scotts Valley School District and be reassigned to the Loma Prieta School District. And then as well as that meeting, we do have 2 interdistrict transfer appeal requests that were submitted to our office. And it is according to EDCO, we must hear the appeal within 30 days that they were received. One was received September 13th, and the second was September 17th. And so the first one must be heard by October 11th. So I was wondering if we could schedule a special meeting.
So there'll be 2?
There'd be 2, but we could potentially hear both on the same day.
We can't wait until the next board meeting.
Yeah, it's too late, yeah. So do you have some proposed dates?
We could meet the Thursday, October 10th at 4. That works for the committee. Both of these interdistrict transfers are involve Live Oak School District, so the same district will be here twice.
I could do that, the 10th.
October 10th?
Yeah, to hear both, possibly?
Yes.
And what time are you?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. as the board would wish.
I have an evening meeting that night, so depending on how long they take.
I would say that I would plan for 1 hour each. It could be shorter, but just to have a 4 to 6.
I could make it work.
And they're both
Is that a virtual? I'm just trying to think if that meeting is a virtual or is it? It's a virtual, so I should be fine. I can make it work if it works for everybody.
Sorry?
Is there a vote for this?
Yes, we need to take action because you're modifying, you're adding, you're modifying the schedule. And so under item 15.
So just repeat for everybody, the 10th. Okay, fine, I'll make a motion that we convene a special meeting on October 10th.
I'll
Deal
second
with the,
That is the first one, or we're going to try to do both?
I'm hoping we do both.
Okay, good. Okay, so motion made by Bruce and seconded by Edward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes, okay. Okay, so meeting is adjourned. I appreciate everybody's patience through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, staff.